10 random magic cards rated. Day 29. Here we go. Happy Tuesday, everybody. First card of the day is Plains. All basic lands get a 5. Art's okay, Rob Alexander. I like the kind of landscape, which is, you could say that about literally any basic land. Actual first card of the day is Pen and Blade from Rise of the Eldrazi and Commander Legends. This is 3 mana for an artifact. It's an equipment that equips for 4, and the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. That's a pretty unique effect right there, right? What if you have 100 creatures? What if you do have infinite creatures, though? Then this starts getting a little more interesting. But if you have infinite creatures, really ought to win the game like that. But I've told you guys before how much I love like Keldon Warlord and creatures like it, right? Like the new one we got is Burrowguard Mentor, but we've had like Shauna and like literally hundreds. Miraxis of Keld. I could come up with literally like 6 or more creatures that effectively do this. So it's cool to be able to turn any of your dudes into that, you know? I like it, but I don't love it. And I definitely don't want more of it. So I'm going to give it a 4.1. I do think there's spots where it's kind of interesting. I'll say that much, but, you know, it's a little expensive. We'll move on to Windscarred Crack. Oh, Windscarred Crack. So this is the red-white duel that enters play tapped and gains you a life when it does so. It's been printed 1 billion times. This is probably like a 6.8. You know, somewhere along those lines. I don't know like how high of a score I can give these, but they are duels. So I almost have a rule that all duels get at least a 7, you know, but I'm not sure these are quite there. Like on the tier list of duels you can play in your commander deck, these are a good ways towards the bottom, right? So we just printed so many good duels at this point, dude. But I don't know. These will show up every now and again, especially in life gain decks, right? So normally I'd give these a 7, but well, maybe because it's white, right? It's a white card. It produces white mana, and you do want to gain life in white decks. So maybe I will say 7, dude, but I'm not going to like it. So let's just call it a 7. Moving on to, Ghostly Prison. Dog. Okay, so Ghostly Prison, originally printed in Champions of Kamigawa. I wanted to see this art. Is 3 mana, 2 and a white for an enchantment. It's basically Propaganda. It's the exact same card as Propaganda, only it's white, not blue. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature attacking you. Extremely important card. Can you find a printing of this for less than like $3? Is that a thing you can do? No. None of these are less than like $3.25. This card is still really good, dude. Whether it's Turbo Fog or, you know, some sort of group hug type thing to where you just don't want people attacking, like Pillow Fort, right? Or just you're playing Plains in Commander. I think a lot of people just slip this into their Commander deck if they're playing white just because, you know, it's very, very good and super annoying and hard to get around and all that. So Ghostly Prison, gosh, dude, this is a good card, man. What do you give a Ghostly Prison? I can defer. Once a day I can ask the audience. I'm still going to rate it. I'm not going to be a coward, but I can ask the audience once a day, and I'm very tempted to know, like, what would the 1.4K or so people watching this video rate Ghostly Prison. I would give this card, I know it sounds weird because I give like all dual lands a 7 and I'm about to give this less than a 7, but I shouldn't. I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give Ghostly Prison a 7. I think that it's actually there. I really do, dude. This is a fantastic Magic card. It deserves a 7. We'll move on to Silver Chase Fox. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 Fox. You can pay 1 and a white and sack it to exile an enchantment. Just solid. Solid little card here. What did it look like originally? The same, but darker because it was an original Innistrad. And everything was desaturated in original Innistrad. We can't have a card looking bright. What are you talking about? Look at that new color palette. Look how they brightened it up. Literally all they did was brighten it. It looks really, really good. One of the only times you'll ever catch me saying a newer card looks better than like the older version of it. But again, just solid Magic card. Interesting maybe for Cube or something. That might be where you want a card like this if you're looking for a place to play it. But I'm just going to give Fox like a 5, you know. I'll throw a 5 in there. I don't think it's above or below average, so that leads me to 5. I'm going to move on to DNod. DNod. This is 5 mana, 3 and 2 black for an 8/3 legendary Phyrexian horror. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. You can also pay 2 black in Phyrexian mana. That means you can pay 4 life for this ability, or you can pay a black and 2 life. You see how that works? Exile 3 creature cards from your yard to put an indestructible counter on DNod. Carnage Dominus. This card costs money. It's $5 for the lowest version of this card. It's actually $4.32 for the lowest version of this card. You can get this version for less than the normal version, which I think is nuts. This looks sick, dude. This looks so cool. But this, the advantage to this version is that it looks like a Magic card. So that's a plus for me at least. But yeah, just extra death triggers is something that's always gonna just get me. It's gonna send me to the next level. Highway to the... I love stuff like this, dude. So it's amazing I don't have a copy of this yet. Apparently I should invest $4.32 and just throw this into the LSL Core Commander pile. But I haven't done that yet, probably because I don't have $5. I just don't. But yeah, solid card, very good in Commander, dude, especially if your deck is doing the thing. So even in a vacuum, though, I have to give this card... How does it have 8 power, by the way? But even in a vacuum, I have to give this card like a 6.2, you know? Outside of that vacuum, if you are like, you know, sacking a bunch of dudes, right? If you can actually control when your dudes die, it becomes much better. But if you're playing creatures, you can bet they're going to die, right? And then like if any of your dudes have death triggers, and it's not just like your dudes with death triggers, it's your dudes dying causing anything to trigger. So literally enchantments, artifacts that have like a creature died triggers. That's so many ridiculous triggers. Say triggers again. It's just, I can't stop saying the word. I'm sorry if it's triggering. I'm saying triggers so much, but still, the card is very hot and tempting. It is PHAT, and I want it. I want card so bad, man. Give it a 6.2. It probably deserves more. Polyraptor is 8 mana, 6 and 2 green for a dinosaur. Makes sense. It's 5/5. When you enrage it, whenever it's dealt damage, you create a token that's a copy of it. Yeah, this Polyraptor right here. This is what this card looks like. Actually, it's from Rivals of Ixalan. This card is still extremely expensive, and I can only imagine that's because of all of the combos. There's a million ways to go infinite with this. There's infinite ways to go infinite with this card. So, yeah, I guess I'm not surprised that it's so much, but I also kind of am. I also a little bit am surprised it's still that much. I just assumed this was a meme. Is it an important like Pioneer deck? And I just like don't know that. Could be, dude. I wish I knew more about Pioneer. I should really brush up. But yeah, I mean it's a fine card, but it only does the one thing. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds weird to give a card that costs $12 on the low end and $30 on the high end like a 4.8. But I'm about to, dude. This gets a 4.8. It's just like it only does the one thing, and even then, like, how hard is it to set up? Why is this card so much? Why is this? Enlighten me in the comments. Somebody will know, like, this is the best combo deck in Historic. It's like, you can't even play Historic in paper. It's like, what's going on? What is this? Let's move on to Onyx Mage. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/1 human wizard. You can pay 2, that's another 1 and a black, and have target creature you control gain death touch till end of turn. Solid. Only ever printed in Magic 2012. That is it. It is it, Chip. 2 mana, 2/1. 2 relevant creature types. Death Touch is pretty good, but the activated ability does cost a lot. But I still gotta say, I kind of don't hate it. I wouldn't play it, but I don't hate it. But like if you're building Simplified Cube or something, this is really good in there, I think. This is a great card in Simplified Cube, but basically the only place it goes, you know what I mean? So I can't really score it that high. I'll give this a 4.7, but like, I don't know, dude. It's not like terrible. You know what I mean? It's really not that bad. Moving on to Iron Lance here. This is 2 mana for an artifact. You can pay 3, tap it, and have a creature gain first strike till end of turn. Not great. Not great. From Mercadian Mass, so that checks out. Only ever printed in Mercadian Mass, but not part of the reserve list for some reason. I don't know. I guess it's kind of nice to have this at instant speed, and you can just do it to any of your dudes. That's not terrible, right? What is going on in this art? Like, I see the Iron Lance, I see that, but why is there like a giant beast? I guess, is it attached? No, it's not attached to the large cat creature. These two guys are holding it up with tuning forks. So are you going to try to kill the large beast in the background with it? Because it looks like he's still got the upper hand. It looks like he's the one with first strike. I don't know what's happening here. I've looked at this card countless times. I really have. But never really thought about the art. But still, this is bad. You know, I'm still thinking like the ability to like just grant first strike instant speed after blocks are taken is interesting, but not good. It's way too much mana, dude. So I'm gonna give this like a 4.3, just for the laughs. Una's Grace is up next. 3 mana, 2 and a blue for an instant. Target player draws a card. It has retrace. That means you can play it from your graveyard by discarding a land in addition to paying its other costs. So anytime, retrace is one of my favorite abilities, like mechanics ever. Anytime you would draw a land, which if you've been on stream, you know, I do it all the time. Anytime you draw a land, you can just turn that into a card from your yard that has retrace. And that is amazing, dude. It fixes one of the big problems, what I've always thought was one of the big problems with Magic the Gathering and its resource management system. Sometimes you flood, sometimes you screw. And this, retrace is really, really good when you're flooding. And I love it. So 3 mana is too much to draw a card, but the fact that you can sort of, a la Whispers of the Muse, draw a bunch of cards with the same card over the course of a game is actually okay. So I don't hate it. I will give it a 5.1. I think there are decks that could find like uses for that. But final card of the day is Campus Renovation. Let's look at a not but ugly version of the card. Let's look at the one that looks the most like a Magic card. Although I do have to say, this art by Anato Finstark is really, really striking. That is not bad at all. But Campus Renovation by Robin Olason. Oh God, I butchered that. Robin Olason is 5 mana, 3 a red and a white for a sorcery. Return up to 1 target artifact or enchantment from your yard to the battlefield. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You can play those cards. So you get an entire turn cycle to play the cards. And it's a reanimation spell for a portal to Phyrexia. You actually do see this every now and again in like very odd sort of Boros or even Mardu reanimator decks. Sometimes they're Jeskai, sometimes they're Naya. They can really be any 3-color combination. But usually they're trying to get portal to Phyrexia and a select number of other things back, like a Virtue of Persistence. Sometimes they'll hit. But still, this is an interesting piece for reanimation. You just don't see stuff like this every day. It doesn't hit creatures. It only hits very specific things, but it does give you 2 cards aside from the thing you got. So it's not bad, 3 for 1 or something. You draw 2 and you get a card out of your, replaces itself. So kind of a draw 3 if you want to look at it in a weird way. I've always liked this card. I have played it in various decks, but it hasn't really caught fire in Standard or anything. And I wish it would. I'm going to give this 5.5 though, because I think it deserves that. I think it deserves above a 5. There's just so many neat things you can do with it, and it's not completely narrow. Like I said, in Commander too, like there's a lot of ways you can leverage this ability. So I like this thing and I always have. But that is all of the cards for today already. We danced and played all night, everyone. I will see you tomorrow, which is Wednesday. If tomorrow isn't Wednesday, then something horrible has happened in the space-time continuum, and I want to be here to warn you about it. But tomorrow should be Wednesday, so I'll see you then. Bye.